Good evening, everyone. Hope you are all doing good. On behalf of DigiSaksham family, I welcome you all for the webinar on changes in labor market post-pandemic COVID-19. Now, without wasting any time, let me introduce the expert of today's webinar, Mr. Varun Krishna, an HR officer at GAIL India Limited. He has work experience of 8 years, in which 5 years he was in recruitment and talent acquisition department, and for 3 years he was in training and skill development. Now, I would like Mr. Varun Krishna to take over the session and share his words on today's webinar. Mr. Varun.
Thank you so much, Sakshi. Thank you for the introduction, Sakshi. And I guess you missed one point that we completed our post-graduation together from the same university. So this part of knowledge sharing has been the part of our curriculum since we have been pursuing our post-graduation together. So it's been continuing since then. So today again, getting an opportunity. So I welcome all the participants here for this webinar. And I will keep it as more of as a knowledge sharing session rather than being as an calling it as a webinar, because I expect a two-way communication. And what I can see in the chat box that we have people who are from the college, plus we have professors as well from different colleges. So I'm sure that this particular session would be definitely will prove to be a learning session. And talking about my profile, as Sakshi have already introduced you about my profile, that I have been into recruitment. So I've worked with different organizations and I have been part of recruitment, which is entry level recruitment as well as lateral level recruitment. Plus, I have also been part of the campus recruitment and talent acquisition. Plus, currently I am I'm working in GAIL India Limited, which is a Maharatna PSU, and I'm looking after training. So training, specifically, I'm looking after employee training and skill development. So when I say skill development, that is the one of the program of the government of India, which is Skill India Mission, wherein I take care of the apprenticeship training. So this is all my profile, and since last 8 years, I've been into the HR domain, looking after different other profiles as well. Moving ahead, as everyone is aware about the topic, so what basically would be the agenda for today? That is more important. So when we talk about the agenda, everyone knows the current scenario. If we talk about the what is happening all around us, then we would see that the pandemic COVID-19 has vastly affected the labor market in India, and the effect has been in such vast that it has affected majorly the both the kind of population, which is whether you talk about the organized sector and the unorganized sector as well. So I will take you through a short presentation, and this particular presentation uh, would not be something wherein you have to completely dependent on, but as I said, in case you have any queries or in case you have any views regarding what you feel that there should be changes in the labor market, or what you feel that there should be certain add-on to the presentation, definitely you all can put your views on the chat box. I would say that this would be a knowledge sharing session, as I said. So we'll talk about the impact of COVID-19 on the labor market in India. We will also talk about what are the current scenarios of labor market in India and world. That's very important. We'll discuss about the hiring trends of financial year 2020 and 21. Why it is important? Because I understand that we have the major part of the people who are participating in this webinar are either the students, or these are the people who are from the academic background, or might be they are people who are from the corporates. So this labor market is something which is definitely part of everyone's life. Either you are working into this, if you are working, then definitely you are part of this labor market. Or if you are a student, then once you will complete your graduation or post graduation, then you will be part of the labor market soon or earlier. So it's very important for everyone to understand that how the labor market acts to the natural and unnatural situations. If you talk about what is happening right now from last 4 to 5 months, everyone knows that how the market has crashed, how the jobs and the layoff retrenchment has been part of the company's policies and procedures. So, which we need to understand that how we can understand how the market reacts and how the labor market acts to these situations. So, I hope you're able to view the screen. What you are able to see right now will be the increasing population of India. And what is the basically the purpose of this? Is being that you can see that every second the population of India is increasing. As you can see, the number is increasing from 138 crore. It's been increasing with every second. It simply means that being the second country after China in terms of the population, holding 70% of the population, and that's one of the country which is continuously fighting with the pandemic of COVID-19. So how this figure is going to affect the labor market? Very important. We need to understand that at this moment of time, this pandemic has created a particular situation wherein more the population would increase, more the burden the labor market would increase. So basically, if I talk about what is happening in this figure, the more I said economy increases with more whether we are able to create the jobs or not. So it simply means if population increases, there are two things which you need to understand. First, whether we are able to create enough jobs for this increasing population or not. Second thing, whether we are able to create the jobs that are good enough to maintain a stability in the profile of a particular potential candidate or not. So these both the things are very important when it comes to increasing population. Now moving ahead, as I said, the population trend out that if we continue with the pace of population, then by 2030 we will be at the top in terms of the highest population in the world. What would be the solution? As I said earlier, will be able to have amount of jobs required to our youth that would be coming forward, then we need to understand how the market at this moment is reacting. For this, in a layman language, make every that when we say that labor market, we need to understand the labor market is simply wherein we have the demand and supply of labor. And demand and supply means that the same market we have potential candidate who is looking for a job. In the same market, we have people who are offering the it's when we have both the type of people who are offering the jobs and plus who are looking for a job. It's very important to understand, as I said, that will we have sufficient jobs at this current moment of time, if we talk about this pandemic of COVID-19, the situation is getting worse in terms of the unemployment rate, which we will talk in further slides. But what is the opportunity that uh, what is the opportunity that we can create as an economy for upcoming youth who would be the part of the labor market? That opportunity is demographic dividend. Now, how demographic dividend of a country helps in particular situation in a way that the economy is able to grow up in spite its increasing population. So demographic dividend simply means that between the age of 15 to 65 means the percentage of people who are between the age of 15 to 65 who are actively looking for a job and can contribute to the economy. Let me tell you, in terms of demographic dividend, then we are one of the economy which is at a very advantageous stage when it talks about the demographic dividend of the economy. We have been always been compared with other nations like China, Brazil, or the nearby surrounding countries, plus all the developing nations. So when I talk about demographic dividend of India, if we compare what has happened from last many years, you will see that yes, we have from 2018 till 2025 a demographic dividend of around 37 years. It simply means that we will have that particular set of population between the age of 15 to 65 till 37 years, which is till 2055. So it means that yes, we have that advantageous factor when it comes to in terms of developing of a nation. But yes, it's very important that again the same question that whether we are creating, whether we will be able to create the jobs or not. So in terms of the overall economy, yes, we have the advantage of demographic dividend. But what about the dependent population? When I say dependent population, we need to understand that dependent population simply means the people who are just opposite of demographic dividend. It means who are below the age of 15 years of age or people who are more than 65 years of age. Those people lie into the dependent population. The more the dependency increases, it means more the burden would increase on the economy. Have to maintain that balance between the working age population and plus the dependent population. When I talk about the labor market, it's very important to understand for everyone that how we are able to control the employment rate of this economy. Because at this moment of time, what has happened in the last 3 months, if you will look into what happened in terms of, if I take the figure from last 1 year, this is July, and if you talk about what happened in last July 2019, if you will see here, you will find that the unemployment rate was around 7.34%. And once the pandemic started, which was in the month of April, the unemployment rate has been rising to 23.52%, which is a very huge number. So, do we have that particular strategies that we can control this particular unemployment rate? Do we have certain policies? Do we have certain measures that we can take in future after this, after the post the COVID-19 period, to be able to create a job? But yes, there is a particular set of portion of market that is able to recover very fast. Which is that market? When I talk about people who are having self-owned businesses, people who are having small businesses, or the talking about the construction manufacturing. So in this particular field, the people are returning back. Due to which, if you will look into this figure of 7.9%, which is of yesterday, from March, from April, 23.52% of unemployment rate, we have come up to the 7.9%. I would say is a very good number in terms of recovering the unemployment rate. So when I say that yes, what is that opportunity that we have? Then we have certain sectors which will definitely looking forward to recover gradually, but yes, definitely these sectors would recover. Then moving ahead, if I say what exactly happened when we talk about the shift of employment, there was a time when we had this population, the major percentage of population, I would say around 70% of the population, which was into which were into the agriculture. Now, the particular percentage of 70% has decreased due to the shift of share of employment to 43%. I would say that 43% of number is something which is, if I take out the gap of that particular, apart from the 70% of population, then we have across 27% of the population which has shifted from the agriculture to different other things. Why this is happening? This is because the youth are finding jobs which are into the multiple other fields as well. They are looking for certain other options in the market. They're looking for which are uh, better in terms of developing their career, in terms of developing their personalities. So everyone is looking for certain change, and that change has to be something which is definitely economy. But yes, definitely the share which used to be earlier in terms of agriculture has declined, I would say, from 70% to which is to 43%. And whenever such unnatural situation occurs, when I talk about say COVID-19, what happens to the pocket uh, of the labor? per capita income of India. So when we say per capita, it simply means how much amount a particular person is able to save through the income that is earning. If I talk about what happened since April, the per capita income of the major portion of the population has been declined to a large extent. Do we have the we do not have the purchasing power because we do not have the money to spend. Plus, the country faced lockdown. That lockdown remained a long duration of time. We faced lockdown 1, lockdown 2, lockdown 3. Now, the situation has come wherein this particular stage of lockdown is coming down gradually. People are coming back to their businesses. People are starting with the people who are having their startups. They're also putting efforts so that they can earn some revenue. Until unless a company is earning a revenue, if I'm not able to pay to my employees, how would I increase the per capita of that particular employee? So these are certain things which you need to understand as in layman, as in someone who is part of the labor market, how these factors affect the labor market whenever there is certain situation, whenever there is any pandemic. So I told you what happened in India, but how these things affected the entire globe. Everyone knows that this pandemic of COVID-19 has not only affected India, but it has also affected the entire globe. And how it has affected. So, as per the report which was given by the International Labour Organization, it clearly states that first thing which affected the most in terms of the entire closure in the globe. 93% of the employed in countries were workplace which having the closures. It means if your business is closed, it means that if your workplaces are closed, it means the country is not able to grow the revenue. It means if we are not able to provide sufficient employment to daily wage earners, it means the unemployment rate is increasing. So this was one of the factors which affected globally. Second, I would say definitely there was a decline in the working hours. Why there was a decline in the working hours? Because reason being that companies basically who are working in during this particular duration of the COVID pandemic, COVID-19, they started working with a different module. So the module was to decrease the working hours. Some of the companies which are into essential services, they started working into an environment which operated into a 50% of the workforce. There were organizations which were started working into 33% of the workforce. If I talk about my organization, which is a PSU, so in our company as well, we started with a 33% of the workforce in the particular site. And gradually we increase into 50%. But yes, this particular working module was being carried on into different into multiple industries. We do not want to stop the work. We wanted to provide labor to the contractual workers, to daily wage earners who are continuously dependent on the working function of the organization. Then another thing which is very important, that if I talk about the participation of women in the industry in the different sectors, then I would say that yes, women who are working into hardest hit sectors during this pandemic were mostly affected. Reason being that, as we know, that in terms of the ratio of male and females participation into the employment is less in terms of ratio. But yes, their effort has been always at the top. But it seems that during this particular duration of pandemic, there were certain sectors wherein which were majority of the employees were females. Those sectors were hardly. For example, if I talk about the factories which were employing which were manufacturing the clothes, there were factories which were uh, working on the cotton industry. These are certain factories. These are sectors which were continuously employing most of the numbers of the women. So these sectors were hit so badly that across the globe, not only in India, I would say across the globe, the number of percentage of women that were participating in the employment has definitely declined because of this shutdown which happened, which is still in continuation from last 3 months, 4 months. And looking at the current situation, especially in India, yes, the labor market is still in a crash stage, but improving in certain industries. Now, I would say that question how the labor participation happens. If say that what happened during from January to April and what happened after April is very important. So if I say the labor participation rate, how many percentage of labor which were working in the entire country did participate during this particular pandemic, which was very less, which I would say just 40.98%. And if I compare it in terms of the urban and rural, then you can see in the screen that yes, the urban population was having 38.3% and the rural was having 42.4%. What makes you understand uh, data is something wherein the labor participation rate is also very important. When I say I'm looking to provide salary to my employees, I'm looking forward to provide bonus to my employees. But yes, my labor participation rate is very less. The company which I work in, the labor is not able to participate. It's not able to generate revenue. Reason being that we are operating with a lesser uh, percentage of the employees in a company. So it simply means that if I look into this particular picture, which is across what is happening in all the states, then the participation rate was very less. And yes, this participation rate lesser will definitely impact what will happen in entire year, what will happen in the revenue, what will happen in the bonuses, what will happen to the salary increments, impact, which we will cover in the other slides as well. But there is one question which definitely arises in the mind when we talk about how the labor market should be. When we say that yes, we have a lot of people who have joined in this webinar, and I'm sure that most of you are from academic background, either you are pursuing your graduation, or you are pursuing post graduation. Are you skilled enough to get a job into the labor market? You need to understand this. You need to ask this question first of all to you. You will get an answer whether the market jobs are suitable enough for you to enter into to be having a stable career, to be having a stable future. So what I was talking about is that, as I said, that majorly part of this webinar would be the part of uh, the part of this webinar would be people who are from the academic background, might be who are graduating, graduating, or might be from people who are from academic background, would be professors. They need to understand that we need to develop the, the force in such a way that we are able to the challenge that we are facing in terms of the unemployment rate is mainly due to the scaling challenge. Why this is happening? As you can see that what is the unemployment rate in terms of people who are graduating? If you will look here, it is 15.5%, which is in the month of January 2020. So, and this 15.5%, which is a scaling challenge, is resulting into unemployment rate. It simply means this number would increase because what happened in this pandemic, COVID-19, and how the companies would be, how the companies would react to this particular situation. Be hiring in future or not? They would be hiring. Would they be hiring as per the plan which they have prepared, or would they not be hiring as per? It is very challenging for every one of us to understand that after completing my graduation or after completing post-graduation, able to get a job that I'm looking for, or would I will have to compromise? So this is happening because one of the challenge which I have seen, not today, but from last 20 to 25 years, which I've done research work, which I've studied, the same thing which is happening in the scaling challenge. You need to understand that if in case you want to enter into this competitive level, you have to understand this particular situation will keep on rising, and if the situation kept on arising, definitely you will have to skill yourself so that you become out of this particular crowd and you stand out to be one of the potential candidate, which can definitely help in getting a job. Let's move ahead. So something which unemployment, which happened, which is a figure from January to April. Not go very deep into what exactly these numbers are, but I will tell you that during this particular period of January to April, it was April was just start of wherein the pandemic started. This particular unemployment rate has shown its effect in almost all the states. So if I say which are the major states, I labor participation was mostly in the southern states, but the unemployment rate got increased in the northern states. Reason I showed in the earlier slides, was in the southern states, and but the labor participation rate was missing in part of the country. So what happens is it also depends on how the industries open up for the surrounding, how the industries are able to the employees, how the industries are able to generate jobs for them. That's very important when we talk about the unemployment in India. So moving to the other part, this webinar, I see the factors which we need to focus on. What are the areas that we need to focus on when we talk about the market? We say yes, when I will be entering when I will be part of one of the organization for people who are fresh, people who are already working in this working in any of the industry. Would your city get affected? Your bonus payouts would get affected, or whether there will be certain changes in increments, whether you will get the increment, or whether there will be a manpower cost cutting as well. These are certain factors which I'm sure that. Okay, so voice disturbance. Now the voice is clear. Should I continue the voice? Fine now. One of the person. Okay. Will so I was talking about the factors. So what are the factors which would be impacting in terms of the market scenarios? So we need to understand that these kind of situations which has arisen at this moment of time is something which is will definitely impact somehow to certain duration of time. Okay, so we'll move ahead. So when I was talking about the impact of uh, how the market is gets affected when it comes talk about your CTC, whether your bonus payouts will get affected, whether your increments will get affected, or whether there will be any cut in the manpower cost. It's very important to understand that these situations would not remain forever. These situations will definitely improvise in future as well. So definitely at this moment of time, if you look into what has happened in the labor market, these bonus payouts might decrease. The bonus payouts might get deferred, might get delayed. The increments will get affected to certain level of the organization, which could be either top level or middle level. But yes, there are certain things which the company will definitely focus on, that your salary doesn't get affected. So what you get in hand is something which everyone is concerned about. And there's hard hit industries or hard hit sectors which are going to get affected would be the one which which are either majorly dependent on the daily wage earners. So if those daily wage earners do not return back, then definitely revenue would get affected of a company. So I'm talking about how the market is. As I said, that market is something which is usually characterize the market into two parts, like organized sector. When I say organized sector, we talk about the sectors which are already in a stage of time. Unorganized sector, we talk about during the daily wage earners, which are in construction or in manufacturing. We have seen what happened uh, with the daily wage earners when it comes to what happened. What are the scenarios which we able to see in the during the past many months? We were able to view what were the scenarios with the daily wage earners when we talk about different, but through social media, through different social media, different things which we are able to view about what happened with these particular population. Yes, to further during this pandemic of COVID-19, the effects were shown more on the essential and non-essential services. So the organized and unorganized sector were also further distributed into the non-essential services. When I say services, we talk about the major part of the sectors which were operating into the pharma, healthcare, energy, or which were operating into the BFSI sector. But yes, non-essential services were definitely like BPOs, KPOs, which were into research and development. These were non-essential services, which were also characterized into a different set of particular population during this pandemic. And yes, this particular survey which was taken by May, and they considered different organizations, different considered upon organizations. And during the survey, it was found that 23% of the companies only fall into the essential services, and 50%, 51% of them fall into the non-essential. So means that if I talk about the major of the population who are working in this duration of pandemic, then we were only having 23% of them which were more. Those 23% of the companies were into essential services. So it simply means that this particular 23% of part of the population were the one part of the population which were into essential services. Essential services are the major part of the population which will definitely not get affected when I talk about the workers, we talk about the individuals. Reason being that we already know that yes, this particular part of the population was the one who were working continuously. So if I talk about what happened with the non-essential services, then yes, there would be certain changes in terms of the policies, there would be of the procedures, how the company is going to pay the bonus payout to you, how the company is going to pay the increments to you, or there would be any layoff, there would be any retrenchment, there would be a measure which will definitely going to affect this particular part of the population. Now, this how the companies are able to, is not able to get the effect, much effect in terms of the payouts or your increments is exactly dependent on certain factors. One of the factors which I would say is definitely the start month of the financial year. Why the start month of the financial year is important? Because if I say that if I'm running a company which is operating, which is in, which is an Indian MNC, or I'm running a company which is a foreign MNC. I'm a company which is an Indian-based company. So basically, if I talk about 59% of the companies or Indian companies start their financial in the month of April. And if I talk about rest of the company, rest of the percentage of population, apart from 59%, then that particular part of the population would be something which either they are foreign MNCs or they will be starting their financial year January onwards. But yes, 59% is a very big number. It means this particular 59% of the population is the one which is going to get affected due to this, their starting month of their financial year. Why? So the companies which are operating from January to December, they were able to successfully operate in terms of providing the bonus payouts to the company, which were successfully able to provide the increments to the company, and they focused lesser on the part of which we call it as a manpower cut. So yes, why there was a cost cutting, why there was a manpower cost cutting was focused lesser on that particular part. Reason being that during January to December, they were able to pay to their employees completely what exactly the revenue they have earned. But post December, starting January onwards, yes, there were certain situations wherein the problem arises in terms of the revenue generation. So, if you talk about one of the factors which definitely has impacted during this pandemic was this starting month of the financial year. Now, we talked about the bonus payout. So, bonus payout is something which everybody expected. Yes, uh, every company offers them a bonus during one particular set month of the financial year. But how this COVID period has impacted the bonus payouts as well, we need to understand. So, there are 80% of the companies where, depending on the financial year, which was pre-COVID period, which as I said was January to December, 80% of the companies were able to pay the bonus payouts to them. But how about other companies which are part of this particular duration? If the financial year started from the month of April, there were only 54% which are planning to pay comes to their employees. It means the number has decreased from 80 to 54% when I say pre-COVID or post-COVID period. And I'm sure that you are able to view on the screen that there are different sectors which are basically BFSI sector or IT or ITA sector. These are sectors which are the MNCs, and most of the MNCs which are operating from India are having their financial year starting from January to December. So that is one of the, I would say, advantages stays for these MNCs which are operating during this financial year, which are able to uh, pay the bonus payouts on time rather than differing them as comparative to the companies which are operating from April to March financial year. So this is exactly the same thing which I talked about, that in case we are running a company which is operating from financial year April to March, how many months we defer the bonus payouts? There could be that we are able to defer the bonus payouts from say 8%, 1 to 2 months, 27% would go for the 3 to 4 months, and plus it will go on in terms of it will go up to 32%, which is undecided. But yes, 33% would be the part of the population which will definitely differ for 5 to 6 months based on the company strategies. Taking you further, the pay cuts and layoff. I'm sure this particular question is which is definitely arising in the mind of the lot of students who would be taking part, who would be part of the labor market in future, or the major part of the webinar, the portion of the webinar already the sure they eager to know that would there be any pay cuts, would there be any layoffs. This particular factor has been taken consideration by how much revenue a company is able to generate. If there is a company which is able to generate a revenue which is below 100 crores, or there is a company which is able to generate revenue which is more than 2500 crore in a particular year, then these are the safe companies, I would say, or they are not. So this is something which we need to consider. If I'm running a company which is earning a revenue lesser than 100 crore, it means during the pandemic, I was facing an issue which was of a lockdown. I'm not able to generate the revenue. It means I would not be able to increase the salary of, I would not be able to give you an increment to the employer. I would not be able to provide extra bonus to that particular employer. And there might be a situation where there would be a pay cut as well. And I would not say that we should face a situation where there would be a layoff of employees. So it simply means if you are part of a company which is having a revenue which is between 500 to 2500 crore, those are considered at this moment of time to be the safest companies in terms of the decreasing of pay cuts. And now, very important, salary increments. So when we say salary increments, everybody expects, yes, every start of the financial year, every start of the year, we will have certain increments which will be come into our pocket, which will be add on to what exactly the salary we were getting last year. So in that particular scenario, if you are a person who is into a senior level management or middle level management, then there would be a certain area of concern for you, because there would be approx 50 to 55% there would be no salary increments for middle level, senior level management. And this is all because if I am completely dependent on increments based on my revenues, so during the shutdown, I was not able to generate those revenues. So it means that junior level management and blue collar staff are the ones who are a bit safer in terms of getting the increments, but not as safe as we expected. Because there also we are having 34 to 38% of salary increments which would not happen. And plus, there would go upon approx 28% to 47% would be as per the plan. If I talk about senior level management or middle level management, they will definitely look for certain percentage of salary increments in terms of their top level management. But yes, when it comes to blue collar employees, which is the entry level employees, they will definitely look forward to get some kind of increment, which the percentage would decrease. But yes, they will definitely get that particular portion of population which they expect to be part of their CTC as annually and plus in future as well. But this situation would definitely not remain in future. We expect that this pandemic ends by this year end, and from next year start, we have a certain good, uh, we have certain policies, we have certain green areas wherein we can definitely look forward for more policies, more better increments, more good bonus, and lesser of pay cuts and layoff. Now, what are the factors which I would say is important to understand when it comes to manpower cost reduction measures? So everyone had a question that if I am into a company, whether I'm into a private or into a government or any part of the where I'm working in any type of organization, would there be a labor cost reduction or not? So what are the measures that companies have taken in terms of the cost reduction? One, I would say, definitely a big, which has definitely is going to be one of the strategy, either into a company which is non-essential services rather than being essential service. Here also we have seen that essential services have definitely worked 24 into 7 during this particular duration. So there could be some kind of leverage in terms of the cost reduction measures which would be taken, not for essential services employees but for the on the non-essential employees. So there would be 30% that will come across this pay cuts, and definitely there was one of the point which also followed in our organization, which was adjusting your leaves with the lockdown period. So it means that in case you are stuck into a certain scenario wherein in the lockdown, then definitely this particular leave would get affected, and your entitled leave would get adjusted with your lockdown period. So moving ahead, there are certain other measures which were taken. I would say if I come into the last 3 to 4 points, I must say retrenchment and layoff is something which is a permanent separation, which definitely is going to affect the employees the most. Yes, reduced work hours and working in shift is definitely one of the measure which will not be a negative impact on the employee. But yes, when I talk about retrenchment and layoffs, this is something which is a big blow to any of the employee which is part of the organization working from long duration of time. But yes, definitely at this moment of time where there is uh, at this moment of time when there is certain scenario wherein you are able to see how the market is reacting so difficult, then yes, you need to understand that this job is very important for everyone. And if during this duration of pandemic, if anyone loses the job, then it will be uh, definitely a big blow to not only to that employee but yes to his entire family as well. So, so when we think from an economic point of view, then these certain factors definitely affect the employee. Now, the last part I would say of this webinar, which is very important, that how the hiring would happen in the financial year 2020 and 21. And before we come to the last part, I just want to ask once again. I hope my voice is audible to everyone.
Yes, it's audible.
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. So when I talk about the hiring outlook, I am sure that the people who are attending this webinar, they certainly have that question that if you are from a academic background and if you are currently undergraduate or you're postgraduate, about to postgraduate, how the market would be open for you. This is something which I'm sure a lot of part of the uh, people who are attending this webinar would be having. So we need to understand that in case you are into an entry level, you are about to join your first organization, then there will be certain kind of freeze in the hiring, which is approx 44%. But this particular freeze is definitely not going to last for say for the next year as well. But yes, till December 2020, there would be a freeze which would be around say 44% for the blue collar staff, which is the entry level staff. When I talk about the junior management, which is obviously a level ahead of the entry level management, there also there is a freeze of 40%. And the more that you will move to the higher level, which is to middle level and senior level management, this particular hiring outlook, which is being reflecting here, is something which is obviously impacting the revenue of the organization. It means more I will have to pay to the people who are in the middle level and senior level management. I will have to put a freeze at a higher percentage because I'm not able to get the revenue that I was expecting this financial year. If I'm not getting that revenue, I am in a situation to provide salary to the people, to the new entrants who are in the middle level or senior level management. I'm sure I'm not. So it simply means that only 12 to 16% is the particular bar where I can hire as per the plan which I have prepared in my last year that I would be hiring. But yes, there will be more of a backfill as well. So we have backfill. It means the vacancies which we are able to fill the last year. Those also will become the part of the hiring outlook for financial year 2021. Plus, as per the new entries which I have planned for my organization that I will be hiring at all level of management. So this is all about when I say that how the labor market reacts to different factors. What would be your future prospects in terms of happen, and would there be any pay cuts? Would there be any layoffs? How the cost-cutting measures would be taken by companies? These are certain things which we need to consider, and I'm sure that how the how I have shown you in terms of different graphs how the labor market is going to react in future. Talking about this is July and from August to December is very important for everyone to understand. So the major part of the population which is getting affected is the unorganized sector. If I sum up this particular webinar, so we need to understand that we need to provide employment to the daily wage earners. We need to open up the market for in the construction, in the manufacturing, in the MSME sector, and plus in automobile sector, and obviously one of the most affected sector, which is the airline sector, I would say. So these are certain 4 to 5 sectors on the industry which have vastly got affected by this particular pandemic, and we need to open up the market for them. We need to understand that yes, every person is important at this duration of pandemic, and I expect that the people who are part of this webinar will definitely helping those people who are looking for a job or who are daily wage earners by certain some or the other way. And this is the uh, best part of this country, that we always have that particular nature of helping each other, and looking forward that a lot of part of this percentage of people who are attending this webinar who are students are not much scared, I would say. But yes, you should definitely look forward for your improvement in your skills. So skill is something where you need to work on, so that once you enter into this environment of this COVID period, come out of this COVID period, and you enter into the labor market, you have that particular skill of that to maintain that competitive, you to fight with that competitive environment. So I one more this article, but I've already told you how the market going to recover. So that's all with this webinar, and thank you so much everyone for attending this webinar, and it was a pleasure to interact. I understand there were certain technical issues in between, but overall, I must say that in case you have any questions, we can definitely go ahead with that.
Thank you so much, Varun. On the behalf of Saksham, we really thank you because you just deliver a very nice and very informative session. And if there is any doubt, if there is any doubt, please you can unmute your mic and ask the question. Yeah, I just wanted to ask one thing. What about this work from home culture? How will it does it open more opportunities for the freshers who are coming to the market in the upcoming months?
I would say that nobody who is a fresher would expect thing, but yes, that sounds like a luxury to people. But yes, when you are into essential services, definitely it will not be a luxury for you. If you are if you are working into an industry, into a sector which is more of require you to be into a field work. For example, if I talk about my organization, which is into the petrochemical plant. So most of the organization, I would say 90% of the organizations, except those who are into services, are into the operations. So those operation level jobs can definitely not be work from home. But yes, those people who are getting work from home, they have to be available every moment of time to attend those 90% of the employees who are in the field, in the operations. So this there is a smoothness in the process has to be streamlined, I would say, but we should make sure that once this pandemic goes down, decrease certain percentage, we should definitely call back the employees to the office.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much, Varun.
Thank you so much. Thank you for giving me the platform today. Thank you.